After all eyes on Chicago judiciary, what next at the Supreme Court when fraud and forgery are reconfirmed? Welcome to the news, and please subscribe to our channel to get notified when we post hot judiciary news updates. Please click on the notification bell. I woke at 4 a.m. in Washington only to find that the U.S. District Judge Maldonado had already uploaded a judgment urging the release of Tinubu'S university records online. The Beaver's upload did not fail. She did not have to wait till Monday to read it in open court, and the judgment is not invalid because it was not physically printed like a ballot. Firstly, this is how justice works efficiently in the United States with technology, and secondly, this shows the industry and urgency of the judge who worked from Friday when our briefs were fully settled through Saturday with a 33-page judgment, principally to enable the Nigerian Supreme Court have the evidentiary content it needs to fully address these matters by this week. In doing so, the United States Court avoided the technicality that this evidence and issue was not timely filed simultaneously in the Presidential Election Petition Court. Rather, the potential that it could be used in proceedings and, in fact, might be introduced as fresh evidence when on emergency basis before the Supreme Court surfaced. The Supreme Court, on the other hand, will latch onto the technicality that the new evidence was not introduced at the trial court and thus refused to admit it, but the nature of the new evidence might determine the flexibility of the Supreme Court in allowing its introduction. To be clear, the issue is no longer whether Tinubu is a fraud. He is very much so. 75% of Tinubu's academic claims in his original INEC filings have been disproven as bogus by Tinubu himself in subsequent contradictory INEC forms. In other words, Tinubu has testified against himself on oath, disavowing 3 out of 4 schools he attended. The Chicago State University is the last school attended that is under review, which is a sane climb, and he should heartily seek records released to prove he's a fraud, but not a total fraud. Secondly, the issue is not even whether Tinubu presented forged document to INEC. He did. David Hunday's incisive investigative report plus evidence previously obtained via a Chicago court from the Chicago State University conclusively prove that the certificate displayed by Tinubu was a forgery obtained from a fake certificate mailed online called diplomamakers.com. Chicago reporter at the Chicago State University, Aliyom Codin Palmer, exposed the forgery further days ago, stating, and I quote, "Let me make this easy for you. The diploma itself is a fake. On the alleged diploma, the date of graduation is listed as June 27, 1979. The signature of the Chicago State University CSC president shows Elnora D. Daniel. I almost spit out my coffee and I laughed so hard when I saw Dr. Daniel didn't become the president of Chicago until 1998. How do I know? Because I covered her inauguration and her first 2 years at Chicago State when I was a student reporter for the now defunct school newspaper Temple. Additionally, on the fake diploma, Dr. Neva Lubin is listed as the president of the Board of Trustees. Dr. Lubin did not even start serving on the board until 1996. I've known Dr. Lubin since my days as a student at CSU, and she is a lifelong resident of Chatham, where I grew up. 1. Original at Chicago State degree certificate issued to Bola Ahmed Tinubu in 1979. 2. Pay interest repository of fake certificate samples from diplomamakers.com. 3. Simple fake at Chicago State degree certificate from diplomamakers.com. 4. What Bola Ahmed Tinubu submitted to INEC Nigeria per Hunde's tweet are available online publicly for critical scrutiny. Therefore, the twin offenses of lying to oath of INEC and INEC about his educational qualifications have already been established. Both his inconsistent gubernatorial form and his presidential form cannot simultaneously be true. Either one is a lie. Presenting a forged certificate to INEC has also been proven as falsehood. Therefore, it is now more corroborating the established facts of a crime, which wouldn't have been necessary if the Nigerian legal system had not failed the nation previously. In fairness, by some products, legendary human right icon. Gani Famuhemi fought the issue up to the Supreme Court, but when Tinubu lost the gubernatorial immunity, the political will to hold him accountable wasn't forthcoming. Another story is that the subsequent Attorney General drafted charges but withdrew them on agreement not to run against an incumbent. According to the law, the charges charge FHC ABJ CR 04 2011 read thus. On about the 20th day of December 1999 at Ikeja, Lagos State, on the occasion of making a statement at the Independent National Electoral Commission, INEC, Form CF001, which you submitted at the INEC headquarters in Abuja, touching on your educational background, a statement required by law to be made an oath, did knowingly make a false statement or not, to which you stated on the form, on the said form CF001 that you attended Government College, Ibadan, between 1965 and 1968, both dates inclusive, whereas in truth you did not attend the said school within the stated period and you thereby committed an offense contrary to punishable under the section 191 of the Criminal Code Cap 7 Laws of the Federation of Nigeria 1990 as retained in section 191 caption C3 of the laws of the Federation of Nigeria. Due to a lack of archival databases, it cannot be readily authenticated, but facts already in the public domain, such as FBI legal attaché Jennifer Dent's contemporaneous letter to the EFCC of that same year denying that Tinubu attended the Chicago State University clearly indicate that he was indeed investigated by the Nigerian government, and there amassed evidence of crimes which were not subsequently prosecuted. If that is the case, then the Attorney General, as of the time, who had already admitted that he did not prosecute Buhari, as some of us advocated, is likely the only one in history to have failed to prosecute two men who became the worst president in Nigeria and the most fraudulent. Besides, one, Enahoro, has also filed a direct criminal complaint against Tinubu in Nigeria on the basis of the certificate forgery he covered in collaboration with the Honduran last year. Other issues sought to be clarified by the testimony on oath of the university officials might include the gender and date of birth of Bola Ahmed Tinubu, who was admitted into Chicago State University, the full name, the initial capital, and the citizenship status and actual identity. This is a very strategic number of reasons, including determining whether Bola Tinubu stole the identity of Bola Adekunle Tinubu or whether Amodasan Godele stole the identities of Bola Ahmed Tinubu. This would explain why, for instance, no criminal record was reported for Bola Ahmed Tinubu to the IGP as claimed by his lawyers, and why there is mysteriously no record of his existence whatsoever before community college in America. There are generally three categories of people who have incomplete personal history data. Now, all those things are not even they're not needed. All we want is somebody who will actually come out and at the end of the day, he's going to come out and at the end of the day be able to tackle what's it called? Be able to all Nigerians want is somebody who is truthful and is actually able to tackle Nigeria's problem head on with a spirit of sincerity, genuinity, and selflessness. All right, on those notes, we have come to the end of the news. We say thank you for tuning in to listen. Until I come here next time, enjoy